Hello guys, welcome to all, I hope you are well. Friends, today I will show you how to create buy and sell signals on a 1-minute chart. I will show you how to create tactics. So actually today we're going to do a scalping. So we will be traders. Let me tell you what a trader is, friends. We call traders and scalping processors scalpers to people who close the position by taking profits of 0.15%, 0.2%, 0.5% in periods less than 15 minutes. Don't be afraid of the low profit rates here. Because we will trade in 1-minute periods and we will have the opportunity to open hundreds of trades. Sometimes we enter the transaction 100 times a day, sometimes we enter the transaction 10 times a day. That's why we collect the 0.50, 0.20 profits at the end of the day. At the end of the day, if we are closing the day with 5% profit and 3% profit, we should be happy about it, and this is a great success. In other words, let me put it this way, we open trades on small price movements and take profits on small price movements. For example, we need to catch the price movements in our current chart. We need to find the price movements over there. We need to find the rises over there, folks. Guys, we need to find the prices here, the price movement there, enter the trade here and take the profit here. And we call them scalping trades. Friends, before I go on to the video, my Telegram address is available in the descriptions of the video. If there is a point in your mind in the training video I describe, you can come to my Telegram channel and ask me questions. Nothing I describe here is investment advice. I am trying to show you how to create a strategy and how to do scalping. Friends, I hope you like the training video. Thank you in advance for listening and watching me. I'm moving on to our training video, friends. Today we will use 3 main indicators, we will confirm 2 of these indicators with each other, and we will exit the trade with the other. Yes, now I come to the indicators part and open up our first indicator, EMA, friends. I do not change the input settings of the EMA, its default setting which is 9 remains constant. I'll just thicken our EMA line a little bit so we can see it more clearly and change its color. Let's thicken it like this. That's okay, guys. Another indicator is MACD. Friends, I will show you 2 different input settings on the MACD indicator. Because the strategy you apply in scalping strategies and scalping tactics does not always work. It doesn't work on every chart, because every chart renders differently and acts accordingly. We definitely need to try different input settings in the charts we open. Let's be aware of it. So I'm going to give you 2 different input settings today, you can change them in the graph and try it. You open up the chart, for example, these settings are better in this chart, the same settings in the other chart will not be good. That's why you use the 2 settings I give you guys, keep in mind. There is no rule that any scalping strategy or tactic will work correctly on every chart. It works very well on the current chart, not on a different chart. The settings I have already given you are 1-minute settings, I am giving the settings to trade on 1-minute charts, friends. I open up MACD from the indicators section. From here, I open up MACD, which is also buried, friends. I open up input settings of MACD. We change the input settings of the MACD. I say our initial input settings are 12 to 48, 64 friends. This is how I changed the settings. We open MACD and EMA. Another indicator is friends. The other indicator is the Laguerre RSI indicator, friends. I haven't told you about this before and I'm thinking of shooting a training video for it in the near future. We use LRSI, which we call Laguerre RSI, presented to us by our friend Kavanchaz Bilgic. In the same way, after opening up our indicator, friends, it appears here at the bottom. I am also changing the input settings of this. But we are changing only one setting of it. We change the input setting here and set it to 0.7 as you can see. And we've seen reference intervals change. It is better when I change the settings, friends. Likewise, when I change the MACD settings, it gets better. What are we doing now, guys? We will use three indicators we call EMA, MACD, and LRSI. Here we pay attention to the following when using them. We will use the LRSI indicator both in buying and selling. Guys, there are places we need to be careful. For example, when entering the trade, we will pay attention to the reference range, which is the 80 region in LRSI on the 1-minute chart. LRSI needs to be above the 80 zone to generate a buy signal for us. For example, when we look at here, LRSI is above 80, but neither MACD produces a buy signal nor does EMA produce a buy signal. We need to pay attention to these. Let's show you guys. Let's start here. We are trading on the 1-minute chart. First we look at the MACD with the input settings I give. MACD here crossed the blue upwards and formed a buy signal. But here the price needs to close above the 9-day moving average. We need to pay attention to this. Guys, first of all, we are looking now. The MACD has given a buy signal, the price has closed the candle on the EMA, but LRSI is here as you can see. So what are we doing here? What we said, friends, we buy when LRSI crosses upwards, that is, when LRSI crosses upwards in the 80 region. And when LRSI crosses above here, we buy, when it crosses below, we sell. So, we are trading on this candle, friends. LRSI crosses up. And at the candle opening here, it corresponds to these mids in this region. So let's assume that we are trading in this region here. After entering the trade from here, LRSI gives a sell signal. When we look at it, friends, when we look at this region, it gives a sell signal in this region and crosses directly down. And here it leaves us a profit of around 0.1%. Of course, in the meantime, MACD still continues to give a buy signal. But if we are going to do a scalping, we don't have time to wait on the chart for that long. Because the profit rates between 0.10, 0.20 are important for us. I'm going a little further and looking at here, guys. Here the MACD produces a buy signal. Right here, and as you can see, guys, look, LRSI is also in this region, over the 80 region. And here it produces a buy signal for us at the close of this candle. We're switching to a buy signal right here and up to where LRSI is giving a sell signal. Now look, LRSI has given a sell signal here and has now given a 0.77% profit rate here. But those who trade scalping will not wait for such a long time here. Now let me give you another tip. EMA, our moving average, this orange line, friends, when there is a gap between the candles and the chart. In other words, it opens with the candles and there is a gap in between when you see this. For example, here it moves with candles and EMA is close to candles. But here, there is a gap, friends. As soon as the distance between the moving average and the candles becomes wider, the scalpers immediately go on sale. Because they predict that the price will decrease now, so friends, a scalper who buys here will most likely sell his position there. Why sell here? Because a nice bullish candle has arrived and here the gap between the moving average and the candles is wide. And for the trader person, this generates a sell signal. In other words, he does not wait for LRSI signal here, he does not wait for MACD, he closes the transaction directly here. So let's look at the profit ratio over there, guys. Let's say I trade here, right where Larcy gives a buy signal. And I sell here, taking a profit of 0.56, friends. Let's look elsewhere again, friends. Along with MACD, for example, it produced a buy signal here. What we say, friends, when RSI cuts down in the 80 region, it produces a buy signal for us so far. Let's assume that we enter the process here. Let's assume that we enter the same way from the exact intersection here. We sell at this candle, and as you can see, friends, it leaves us a profit of 0.04. In other words, here we actually close the transaction with the profit we receive, as well as the commission. Why is there a loss with commission? Because we pay a commission when buying, and we pay a commission rate when selling. That's why, friends, the profit of 0.04 does not benefit us in any way. So friends, the profit rates we will get in scalping transactions should always be above 0.1%. The profit rates we receive below 0.1% cause us a loss because of the commission. In the same way, we examine our price chart. In fact, let's go to the last transaction, friends, or not to the last transaction. It is not an investment advice. We're getting a lot of opportunities because it's a 1-minute chart. It produces a buy signal over there. As you can see, RSI crosses up. MACD also intersects here and produces a buy signal. And it gives us a full sell signal here. It makes us sell the transaction, friends, exactly where it intersects. So where it gives us a buy signal is above that candle, where it gives a sell signal is at the bottom of the red candle. Here, too, they give us a profit rate of 0.50, friends. Let's go back in the same way. As you can see, here, MACD is producing a buy signal, but RSI has not crossed the 80 region upwards yet. We are trading over 80 regions, friends. So we're trading on that candle. It now rises above the 80 zone here. And here we enter the transaction, we exit the transaction in this region. We exit the trade according to RSI, this candle here is taking us out of the trade. And let's look at the profit rate here, friends. Let's say we enter from here, and let's say we exit from here. It leaves us a profit rate of 0.31. Friends, what we need to pay attention to here is, as you can see that there are many opportunities in the 1-minute chart. It gives an opportunity here, then it gives an opportunity here, as you can see, it gives an opportunity in this region. So the goal here is not to be excited and panic, because it is a 1-minute chart, you will see hundreds of opportunities. So make good use of these opportunities. The profit rates here are always small. The goal here is to collect the small profit rates at the end of the day to make a profit. Now I'm telling you the important tricks, friends. If our moving average is not following the price, i.e. the candles, but is moving a little lower when you enter the trade, we can predict that a drop may come here. Guys, it's not widening here, as I just showed you. When you see a widening like this one, we can predict that the price will decrease, friends. On the 1-minute chart while making trades, friends, let's pay attention to these. Then, let me show you the settings of the MACD indicator again. MACD settings are 12 to 48.6. Now I will show you other settings. Friends, now the other setting will be 5 to 34.9. As you can see, there has been a slight change in MACD. We saw that it gave a slightly earlier signal in the last settings we entered. So you can try them on charts. There is no such thing as certain settings will work on every chart. You can also use other MACD settings I gave you. Let's pay attention to all this while trading, and friends, if you are going to do a scalping, remember that, as soon as you enter the trade, determine your stop-loss zone. So what I mean, when you trade here in RSI that I showed you, follow MACD and EMA, but keep your eyes on law RSI. Because it is a 1-minute chart and it will give very fast reactions, don't let it mislead you guys. Now follow law RSI here as well. Sell when law RSI gives a sell signal. In fact, think about it this way, friends. For example, it gives a buy signal here, but the price goes above the moving average here. You can take a risk in this area. You say that if the price rises above the moving average and falls below the moving average, you will close the trade. And that's how you get in trade before MACD. For example, I am giving an example, friends. If you enter the trade before MACD, you can take this risk. But then MACD also intersects. Look, MACD intersects here, so you can enter the transaction at the MACD intersection here, not here. You buy it here. Law RSI is giving a sell signal there. It gives a sell signal here, so you exit the transaction here. So let me show you. Let's say you buy here, you sell it here. It gives an average profit of 0.76%. When we look at the transaction, we see that the candles are still above the moving average. You know, you can develop the strategies I've described here completely by yourself. For example, you only trade on charts where the price is above the 9-day moving average, and when a candle closes below the moving average, you close up the trade. For example, if the candles are above the 9-day moving average and close below the moving average, you can close the trade there and sell, friends. You'll get in the transaction again later, when the price rises over it. But don't use any indicator alone. I always say, the important thing is to find the tricks of the indicators and use them well. That's all I have to say on this subject. There are hundreds of such scalping trading strategies and tactics. And I will tell you all about it. I hope I help you and you like the video. Thank you for listening to me. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.